Joe, just how important was it for you guys to put together a performance for back-to-back wins in the conference?
Yeah, we had been on a bit of a roller coaster this year, right, with some, performances that were indicative of a team that could win games, and then, dipping back down the following week. So coming off of a huge win against Buffalo, um, we challenged these guys to, really have a great week of practice, with the 10 days, and then, not losing a day of meetings and practice because of the NCAA penalty. I thought the kids did a really nice job. We talk about habits during the week being realities on game day. And for the second week in a row, we put together a good complementary game of football, executing well in all three phases, with still plenty of things to clean up. And 2 years in a row with 4 wins, 2 years in a row with 3 league wins, 2 in a row for the second year, and two games away from bowl eligibility with 2 games left. So very, very exciting time to be playing meaningful games in November at the University of Akron.
237 yards on the ground. How do you feel like your O-line did today?
I think the O-line and the tight ends and the backs and the quarterbacks adding some, in terms of decision making and running the ball. But if throughout my career as a play caller, as an ex-quarterback, and we've always had explosive plays throwing the ball, there's always been a tremendous amount of pride in our ability to run it. And you look back at all the way back to, heck, here at Akron the first time, UConn, and all the way through. We've been a team that can lean on you and run the ball and produce 1,000-yard rushers, which I believe Jordan is on the cusp of doing right now. And when you're able to do both well, it forces the defense to defend the entire width and length of the field, and forces them to commit numbers to the box by pressure or support, and that creates one-on-ones on the perimeter. So to answer your question, anytime you can get over 200 yards rushing, the guys up front and the running backs and the guys making the decision are doing a pretty good job.
Joe, can you overstate how huge it is to start the game with a takeaway, first play from scrimmage?
Yeah. We knew UMass has been a team that struggled a bit on the road. And obviously, coming in and playing well at times but not being able to finish, starting fast was a huge point of emphasis for the team. And we didn't want to give them any hope, all right, and let them hang around and stay in the game. So to, come out of the gate and, as you mentioned, get the turnover on the flea flicker and, punch that thing in with Kyan and go up 14-0, that was, a good job by the kids understanding the message and our need to get out of the gates fast.
Summers came up with that ball and then obviously had an incredible fumble recovery return for a touchdown. What did you think of that that second one, that 25-yard return, and just what can you tell us about him and how he's been playing with the 2 interceptions at Buffalo too?
Yeah, he's been playing his best ball the past 2 weeks, and a guy that, you talk about habits being realities, a guy that practices hard and prepares well and understands his responsibility and, plays 100 miles an hour with his hair on fire and, kind of in the mold of, Bubba Arslanian, who incidentally enough was at practice, hanging out the other day. So Gage has done a really nice job, and, Coach Tibbs calling the defense, and, we need to continue this for the next 2 weeks at a minimum.
Not just Gage, but how big was your whole defense today, keeping them under 200 yards? How big is that for an offense that you got your defense on your back?
Yeah, it was, you talk about complementary football and, winning the critical factors that determine the outcome of games, explosive plays, turnovers, third down, and red zone, which, just looking at this really quickly, looks like we took care of business there. But, anytime a defense can, hold someone under 210 points, you're that's elite level defense. And now back-to-back weeks, Coach Tibesar and his staff and the players have done a really nice job. And, offensively, we've been able to put points on the board, and special teams make some plays. And, that's how you win football games.
Jordan Gant, he had 156 yards on the night. He entered third in the MAC in rushing and is leaving the night first in the MAC in rushing. Can you just speak more on him specifically?
Yeah. We've talked about this, I think, throughout the year, just a tremendous evaluation by Coach Richardson. Jordan's a guy that started at Tennessee State and saw his role diminish there and decided to get in the portal. And, Terry, made the evaluation. And, we were able to get Jordan here. And just you can't say enough about a young man who, appreciates the opportunity, prepares well, has an incredibly high football IQ, and just like we mentioned about Gage, a guy who ends up playing like he practiced. So, and he's a wonderful young man too, just the type of kid that you want to be around, and just you're always happy and excited to see a young man who does things the right way, see his attitude and his effort validated through performance, and that's definitely what Jordan does.
As a person on the sideline watching, I've noticed from even the first play before the turnover, you guys came out with a lot of energy. Do you think that
We did what?
you guys came out with a lot of energy?
Yeah.
Do you guys think that kind of like rocketed you guys to get a turnover on the first play?
I hope so. It's of all the things that we've done here in an attempt to build a legitimate FBS program, it's you got to sometimes create your own energy, and some of the factors that we talk about relative to winning on a weekly basis, right? Preparation, energy, effort, physicality, execution, and finish. And you watched the Buffalo game last week, and you could see it was really the first time, and I mentioned to the kids in the team meeting, that it looked like an energetic sideline of kids that, and not just the guys who were playing. That occurred after Ben Kamara's interception, and now we had the towels out, kids were pumped up, and winning is contagious, man. So hopefully we can keep it rolling.
How has Ben Finley progressed for you this season?
I think we've seen Ben is a very talented player in terms of height, arm strength, accuracy, and productivity. But I think where he's grown the most is not getting too high, not getting too low. Right, when things go well, when things go poorly, and trying to just keep an even keel in terms of his response to those things, and not trying to make up for a bad play on the next play, and treating every play as its own separate entity. So I think his level of maturity, his understanding of the system, and subsequent execution has improved, along with his emotional stability relative to controlling his emotions and just taking each play one at a time. That makes sense? Yeah.
Coach, obviously you guys take everything 1 week at a time, but kind of the word around the locker room now is wagon wheel, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's saying it. What's this team looking to do next week to just go into that game, and how much energy kind of surrounds that now?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to enjoy this for about 12 hours here and be in first thing in the morning, getting rolling. But, having been here, from 04 to 08, and then the past 3 years going into this one, we understand the magnitude of the rivalry against Kent State. And I know I've been in some rivalries can get toxic, and obviously the ingredients of a great rivalry, right, are proximity, familiarity between the players, right, and passion of the fan bases, and that exists in the wagon wheel rivalry. And I've got nothing but the utmost respect for Coach Carney. He was obviously just promoted to the full-time job, 2 Fordham grads. I think he broke some of my records there, so I won't hold that against him. But yeah, our kids. I mean, we listen, every single day at practice, the very last period of the day is wagon wheel period, regardless of the opponent, because we understand the importance of what this game means to this team, this school, and this community. And we're gonna have a great week of practice, and we're excited to have a home game against a rival who's playing some really good football right now.
Anything else for Coach? Thanks, Coach. Appreciate
All good?
you guys.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great night.